Okay, so let's get started. First of all, thank you for your patience. I know it's been a long process, but there was and there is still a lot to show about the framework. So first, let's start with a quick recap of what we've seen in the previous sessions. So Amplify is a framework and a platform provided by AWS, and it's composed of a command line tool that serves us to add backend services to our React or React Native or native application, and also provides a set of components that help integrate seamlessly those backend services that are added to our front-end app. So you get, with very little effort, backend services that otherwise would take time and knowledge to be added to our stack, and also a good set of front-end components to consume those services. We have this project. I'm going to run Amplify status to check which services do we have in our stack. So as you can see in the previous sessions, we added an authentication service, and GraphQL API, storage for static objects, and hosting to host our application when we are done and we want to show it to the world, right? So just to wrap up the recap, I'm going to give, for example, the authentication service. We simply inject a higher order component and we use it to wrap up our application. What do we get from that? Is the whole set of backend, front-end to handle authentication, sign in, sign up. And you can see here that just by adding this higher order component, we get the whole process in place. We can create accounts, do all the reset password and all that. So okay, logged back in. So what I would like to show you right now is first one of the latest additions of the framework, which is a category of backend service called predictions. They have all sort of artificial intelligence and machine learning services that will be very, very expensive to develop in-house, but you can easily add these things. And I'm just going to do a very, very simple example. This category is called predictions. And what I'm going to do right now is start by adding this category to my application. So as we've seen before, this is done from the command line tool executing Amplify prediction add is Amplify category and the action that you want to perform. In this case, we are adding the predictions category to our backend stack. So you can choose different options. One is identify. This is identify things within a picture. We provide a picture, and this provides the service to get information out of a picture. Convert, interpret. Convert is converting, for example, text to speech or speech to text. Interpret and infer are more machine learning things in which we provide natural language sentences, for example, and we get an interpretation of that natural language thing. I'm going to add a very simple service, which is converting text to speech. Here we have the option of adding different types of conversions. What I will do is generate speech audio from text. Here we can add a friendly name so we can identify this on our web console. We need to choose the language. There are, at the moment, there are some languages supported by the service, not all of them, but a decent amount. You can see here the main languages. I'm just going to go with English. We can choose a voice from their set of different voices, female and male. I'm just going to go with the default one. And which type of users should be able to access the service? I'm just going to go with all of them. So as before, if we run Amplify status, we will see that the service was added to the stack, but it's not yet created in the cloud. So we Amplify push, and that will create the stack for us. It will generate the CloudFormation stack and update our stack in the cloud with the new service. So, okay, that's the backend part. Then let's jump into the application, the front-end application. So we need to add here all the different components that we need to plug that service inside our front-end. So let's see. Here, as you can see, we are importing our configuration from this file, which is generated by the CLI. And we need to add a provider that will create all the connection with that part of the backend. So that is part of the AWS Amplify set. It's called Amazon AI Predictions Service. Sorry, predictions provider, I think. And that is on Amplify Predictions. That is the package. Let me see if it's correctly typed. Yep, we are okay. So that in one hand, we need to get that provider inside our stack in the front-end application to plug it in. So with Amplify, after we configure the credentials and all that, we have the add pluggable method, which takes an instance of our provider. And let's see if that's working. Okay, she's happy. Okay, then that means that I'm just going to check that we don't have any errors. This is okay. This is from the GraphQL API. The token should be refreshed, but it doesn't have to do with the prediction service. So I'm going to add the predictions service within the app itself. That was just boilerplate and configuration. This is the actual front-end part. And we have the predictions category in Amplify. As we use the storage, GraphQL API, and all that, we also have predictions. I have here a very simple component that will do some magic. It will be very boring to write by hand. So I'm just going to add this component, and we can go through the code if you guys want. So far, so good. Any questions? Nope? Okay. So as you can see, we define a few different states, a response, which will hold the status of the text to speech that we want to process. The text that we write, this is the response from the backend, right? For the time being, just nothing placeholder text. Then the text that we want to process, and a function that will generate the speech that as you can see, uses the prediction service that we get from Amplify, uses the convert method, and we send the text that we are setting on the front end. Then once we get the result, we are going to do some browser setup to get the sound, to get access to the audio API, and then reproduce the stream as a buffer, right? The audio stream as a buffer. And in the front end, we just have an input with the text that we want to process. This will update the text, and this is going to execute the prediction service method, this one, which does all the magic. Okay, and then let me see. Then we need to add, of course, the new component. Text to speech. So I'm not sure if you guys are going to hear it. Let me know if it's not audible for you. So
very well.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Cool. So as you can see here, we are getting this audio context from the prediction service, and that is properly the stream. So it's very, very easy to consume. Fabricio deserves vacations.
Fabricio deserves vacations.
Okay, so that is it. Short and sweet. We can publish this and see how it works online. So any questions so far?
No.
Cool. I think this is ideal for projects that are starting and you want to deliver quickly and get a minimum viable product out quickly. So the other thing that we could check quickly, this is off script, this is a bonus track, and see how it goes. We'll be adding a REST API, which is a more standard functionality. Would you like see that, or you are fine?
Sure, if you have time for it.
Yeah, I think we have some time. So let's see how it works in production.
Right to speech.
Okay, cool. I love it. I mean, it's a simple thing, but I'm amazed that the power of this framework. So let's add a new API. We are going to set up a REST API. So as we did before, is Amplify API add. Here we can choose GraphQL or REST. We did GraphQL. Let's go with REST now. Let's call people API just to be original. Our endpoint is going to be people. We here can create can use an existing function or a new one. Since we don't have any yet, just need to write it down. Just let's call people API for consistency. Here, they provide a CRUD function with all the operations to interact with a DynamoDB table. That will take us some more time. Let's just go with a simple express function to see how we can also author our own things. Maybe we just don't have or don't want DynamoDB. We can maybe have an existing backend with an existing database, and we just import into the Lambda function our existing Express API, which you can totally do, and migrate an existing API to Lambda, which of course needs to be considered cost-wise. So for development APIs, for APIs that have an unpredictable load, maybe you get a lot of requests in 1 hour and then maybe no one else hit the API. Lambda is a good solution. If you have an API that is getting requests all the time, a lot of them, it will be much more efficient, cost efficient, cheap to have just a standard instance and a standard node application running all the time. So here it's asking if we want other resources created in the project for the Lambda. Let's say that this Lambda function interacts with I don't know, RDS database, or you need to read something from another service. This is a good opportunity to do that. I'm just going to do a very simple project. So here we can see let's not restrict the access so it's easy to consume, and we won't add any other path. So let's amplify push this. And while it's pushing, let's open a new category. Here you can see in the Amplify folder, which is by default out of version control. You guys can see the new category here created. And here we have our endpoint. Right now is mocked. So let's add some data here. This, we will get this data, let's say from a database query or something like that. So I'm just a coffee maker, a home appliance. Let's add someone else. This will be something that you will get from some other service, a database or something like that. Let's just hard code it here. One word, something that maybe is important. If you ask me personally, by default, Amplify uses Express to power these endpoints, and you get all the middleware thing for free, which is nice. But all these dependencies will add to the Lambda function weight, right? And you always need to, when working with serverless, you always need to think about the weight of your dependencies. So if you ask me, I will get rid of Express in a more critical scenario. This is just a test and it's okay. If you are doing some proof of concept, it's fine. But I will go with the native, sorry, not the native, the vanilla Lambda, maybe, sorry. You don't need a lot of middleware, and you can get away with just few code, which is nice, and the function is going to be more performant. And I'm going to give a session on a more advanced scenario for Lambdas, probably next week or the other. Okay. So that should have worked. Let's check it here. I'm going to refresh. Yeah, and we have here our endpoint. Okay. So I'm going to, in the front end, I'm going to use the API service to interact with this new function. In the, let's see. In the use effect that we have in place, let me see here. In the use effect, I'm going to use the API to get from the people API the data. So and how do we do that with the API? Is using the get method. Just that's it, as simple as that. As we have the GraphQL method, we have also methods that match to all the REST endpoints. And this accepts the name of the API, which I think it was people API, yeah. And which endpoint you want to hit. So let's go with the root endpoint. Oops, let's use something different. And I just want to see how it goes. Oops. This is the GraphQL part. I don't care about it. Just going to comment it for now. And here you can see we are getting from the people API here our data as we defined it. So just to follow what we are doing for the to-dos in the GraphQL API, let's do a hook. Set people. Let's call people data. So we don't collide our state hook. Okay. Something like that. And then let's do something similar. Mm. I think this should work. So as you can see, we are getting the data back from the Lambda. You can do all the other part. I don't want to make it long. Maybe for a more interesting use of Lambdas, we can set a different meeting, and maybe I'm going to separate it from Amplify. It won't be Amplify, it will be just some more advanced case for Lambda, and maybe some event-driven architecture, which is what we are doing for some other projects. So do you guys have any question?
No, it's been great.
Very simple examples, but the idea is that you can grasp the power of Amplify framework and maybe get into it, start playing, and start building quickly pretty powerful things. So, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been really interesting to see something going from start to finish. Even though they may be simple examples, as you've said quite a few times, it would take a lot of time to perform all of these tasks independently if without using a framework like this. So
Yeah,
I hope we find an excuse to use it in a project in the near future.
Hopefully, or at least start playing around maybe with some internal stuff. But yeah, I think it's pretty powerful, and I'm also hoping to start using it on production pretty soon. So thank you very much.